Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Nerd Gen Report. We're going to get into the news. X-Men casting rumors of the week. What's up? Who's up now?
This was a week in the news front of a lot of little things. So we're going to hit on a lot of little things around Marvel and DC and just kind of get, and even outside of DC, we got some He-Man stuff that we can react to. X-Men. We got two on X-Men, but I put one in the bag because I just want to see Pablo's reaction. So First is we got Margaret Qualley from The Substance is rumored to be Rogue.
When I saw, when you sent the text of what we're going to talk about, I said, so I looked up, I went online and said, well, who's the names that are being whatever? And I saw her name and I saw her face. Mm-hmm. And I said, Rogue. And then I read down Rogue, there she was.
Yeah.
I'm not mad at it. Go ahead.
No. So this one, like I said, feels like if they could get her to do this, would be a win and would sort of suggest to me that Rogue is a part they want to spend some time in, because I don't think you hire Margaret Qualley to do nothing, and kind of be the seventh build person in your X-Men movie. So right now, just to recap, the latest betting roster. Granted, none of this is confirmed. So you have Margaret Qualley for Rogue, you have Julia Butters for Kitty Pryde, Sadie Sink for Jean Grey, Harris Dickinson keeps coming up for Cyclops, Hunter Schafer from Euphoria for Mystique, and then one got added. So then we had Io Adebiri for Storm, but we got a new Storm this week.
Who?
It's your girl.
The Wandawise?
Yes.
Wow. Don't. There's not a debate. There is no sitting in the room and doing pros. There's no debate here. You get the Wandawise. Plain and simple. Go ahead.
That's it. So no confirmation, but scoopers, some of the scoopers who've been giving these same rumors are saying she is now being considered for the role of Storm. So she is apparently in the running.
They're watching our show. They're watching our show.
You might get another Aaron Pierre credit here if this comes through. But yes, so that we officially have her on the chessboard for X-Men. Look, I think the thing as we continue to see the X-Men away from Charles Xavier and Magneto is this. I don't hate any of these. These are all in that early 20s to late 20s. These are people who could be this part for 10 plus years if they do it right. All of them it fits the profile. They're on the map. People might know them, probably have seen them, would recognize the face, but none of them is like Timothée Chalamet or Jennifer Lawrence, or already at that stage of superstardom coming into the role to where they carry, a huge reputation. So I think, we've seen Marvel in some of the other movies recently make some seeming casting missteps, but all of these to me seem like I could see it. These could work. These people have ability and they feel like they're the right profile for a young iteration of the X universe. So I don't hate any of these. Again, we'll see what the hit rate winds up being because none of these are confirmed, but it does feel like we are now in that range of, you will see some official announcements probably in the next couple of months, certainly before year end. And then sounds like they're looking to shoot in maybe sometime next year for a 2027 release. And I think the only question there is just, are we getting all of these people in this first movie or are they going to space it out? So I don't know. I mean, look, we obviously have problems with Marvel in general, but where's your excitement for sort of a 20-something live action X-Men lineup?
I'm cool with it as long as they cast appropriately, and you can't make mistakes here, man. You can't make mistakes here. The only mistake you can make probably is Jubilee because nobody cares. Everybody else, Cyclops, Storm, Jean Grey, some of these characters you cannot. They only cared about one character. This can't be the case going forward.
No.
That's all
I think that's the key. The key is the balance. The key is the balance. And I probably would put Cyclops first on the list for he's been done wrong in live action more than any other character. But I think you're right. I think in terms of the sort of the richness of the text, Storm is probably the character you can do a lot with that hasn't been done in live action that I think people would really respond to. I would very much follow the X-Men 97 template on Wolverine, which is, he had his moments, right? He had his Nightcrawler fight in the mansion, which was really memorable. and he had obviously getting ripped apart, which was pretty memorable. But like, he was an off the bench guy for that series. Yeah. And I think the series really benefited from letting the other characters breathe more, because they can always call to the bullpen and bring Wolverine in for a more central role. So I really do hope when I see these actors' names that it means they're going to give real time and shine to some of these other X-Men characters who haven't always gotten that in live action.
Another name I'll throw in there for Storm, if they think about it, because again, the Wandawise, I think I've been saying the Wandawise for years already. 4 years. But there's another name that could possibly play the role that I would believe as Storm, and that is Jodie Turner-Smith.
Oh yeah, okay, I know this. Yeah.
So there's some possibilities, but let's get it right. Let's get it right. That's all I can ask for. Batman 2 filming date. Or is there anything else?
No, that's fine. We can do a little. You want to? We can jump around. Let's do a little DC. We can come back to Marvel. There's one or two other Marvel things, but
I need to take a break from Marvel.
All right, so Pattinson is in. Pattinson is in to say that basically he's been told to clear his calendar for around December to start shooting Batman 2. And by the way, remember this movie that actually dovetails. Even though you can obviously create any season you want, Matt Reeves has said this will take place in winter. Right, this movie will take place partly in winter. So actually shooting it the way he's done it practically, shooting it in winter actually does kind of check out in this case. So Pattinson, and it's publicly on the record because he's promoting Mickey 17 right now, saying like, yeah, I had to clear my calendar for December to go shoot this. So that seems pretty firm. And if that's the case, the 2027 release date seems pretty realistic. That fall of 2027, if they're starting shooting in December. So that's probably our hottest, most solid lead yet, that this movie finally is going to get out of the starting blocks.
Hopefully we see to fruition that moment of transition from the Penguin to Batman season 2, because it makes sense, I would say, right? It makes sense for that transition to happen and to also see the effect, because this is a experimentation here, Brian. This is what that is. Experimentation from a well-received TV show, and then you're transitioning into the movies. What does that start this thinking around Hollywood and these executives in making things like that? Does it translate now from Wolverine having his own anthology series on Disney Plus and it being fantastic, and having us go to the movies to see his participation in the next film, right? Does it transition into Disney Plus? Because let's get it straight. Disney Plus isn't doing well.
No.
This is a way possibly to launch a series of X-Men TV shows that lead to the X-Men. It can be done. Obviously, it takes a lot of coordination, but it can be done. Hopefully, that leads us into a new place of transitioning from TV to film and how it affects the box office, I think.
No arguments for me. I actually think DC is ahead of the game here a little bit. Obviously, they had the huge success with the Penguin. I really think Lanterns is going to take this to a whole new level, which is you don't necessarily hold back the A-line characters just because it's TV. And in some ways, you can use TV to really enhance and set up bigger things to come. And I just think Marvel's been very reluctant to put its bigger name characters into the small screen. And I think to make Disney Plus more relevant, it is something they need to do. And I think if Lanterns is everything we think it can be, it will force them to do it. Yeah. Because Green Lantern's a big deal. Like Green Lantern is not a character you would expect to debut on the small screen, and they're doing it.
Yeah.
I am warming, perhaps pun intended, to really wanting to see Matt Reeves go after Victor Fries. I just want to see his version of it. I'm just so curious, given what we've gotten now.
Yeah. Here's the thing, and we'll move on from another topic that me and Tracy were talking about that upset us, and we call it James Gunn's first fail. And hence the conversations of including Matt Reeves' Batman and his world into the DCU. Matt Reeves is creating something special. Unfortunately for DC execs, he takes quite a bit of time to get things off and running. And then when he does do it, they're fantastic. Which then leads to, if you want to do this world, people are going to make the comparison. And maybe because of, I don't know. I don't want to touch on the subject of James Gunn too much, but his world will be starkly different from Matt Reeves' world. I believe Matt Reeves' thing should be separate because he's doing something there. Let him chef it up. I don't need no collaborators. I don't need him to do what he's doing. Just hurry up, man. Get somebody to help you. I don't know. Them doing Victor Freeze and then DCU doing probably a version of that or other characters. I don't know if they should tackle on the same characters that. I don't know how long Matt Reeves' world outside of the 3 movies. Because like you said, they back that truck up, then you're back on the set again. You know what I'm saying? So there's the concern. But that's another thing. But the Superman fail, Brian, when I mean the Superman fail, is the thing that people were waiting for. People were waiting for this puppy bowl just to see what else can we see from Superman.
Yep.
And we got this. Do you want to take it away?
Well, it just wasn't a trailer, right? So we were kind of misled about what it was. It was basically James Gunn with his own dog, who was the inspiration for Crypto. They did a couple of name tie-ins to the participants in the Puppy Bowl. There was some dogs that were named kind of with a spin on Clark Kent and Lex Luthor. But there wasn't any actual footage. Like there wasn't anything new to see. And this actually continued. So I don't know if you saw this. This continued at the NBA All-Star game this weekend. They did a tie-in. I
saw a trailer.
They did it, but they did a tie-in promo with Shaq, which which is kind of a jokey nod to Kazam. But they didn't. They just showed a recut of all the same shots you've already seen. There was nothing new there. But what they had Shaq staring at the super suit and kind of assessing whether it would fit him. And then while he's looking at it, David Corn Sweat and James Gunn walk up beside him and they kind of have some playful banter. And Shaq is sort of joking that he was the original choice to be Superman. And it just, this is all free promotion. That's what right? This is like, we don't have to spend money to make a new ad. We're just trying to get eyeballs on other things that Warner Brother owns because TNT is part of their universe for now. And then, Discovery Channel, Animal Planet, like where the Puppy Bowl was, is also part of the Warner Brothers universe. So this is cheap, free promotion, not real promotion. And I think to your point, it disappointed a lot of people because it kind of leaked out that it was going to be like an actual new trailer. And we didn't get that. And therefore it became a letdown. And
there was this Nathan Fillion thing that he did too?
Yeah, because of the bowl cut of Guy Gardner in reference to the Super Bowl and the Puppy Bowl.
Here's what Tracy and I were talking about. This was a very interesting conversation. He labeled it as James Gunn's first big fail. And I said to him, James Gunn, to me, is not funny. He's not. And I'm going into Superman not to laugh. I'm not going into Superman to see a funny movie. I'm going in there to see heroics. I'm going to this movie to see Superman and the things that he's able to do and how he's able to connect with humans and all this other stuff. You're trying to get eyeballs. I get that. But you can put anything on the screen in that moment and you'll get the eyeballs. Does it mean it's going to translate into dollars? I don't know. But if your goal was to get us excited, you failed miserably in that respect. You did nothing to further along the excitement that we already had for this movie. Instead, you gave us Nathan Fillion dancing around. It's like, what are you trying to do here? Then you're talking about, we know that this is inspired by your dog, yo. We know already. How many times you got to tell us this? Or prove to it. We don't think you're lying. Why you got to keep talking about this? Come on. You got to come on with your dog and show it like this. Like, we already know. We get it. We get the point. I want to see Superman. I don't want to see running jokes. I don't care for none of that. You're taking my money to see what's going to be on screen, not this other stuff. And yes, this is James Gunn's first big, huge disappointment in what he's doing with Superman and how he's trying to promote. This was not what I was expecting. This was not what most people were expecting. And because of it, you get the backlash.
Yeah, I think consensus I've seen is the Puppy Bowl stuff was received very poorly. I think the Shaq stuff has been kind of mixed. Like, people actually are liking it a little bit more. I will say the Shaq one, the one thing I liked about it is it's a very sneaky, it's like a backdoor way to promote Corin Sweat, because Shaq is the driving force of the gag, but because Corin Sweat's standing next to him as Clark, you get a little, he's kind of sneaking in a little bit of like, this is me, I'm introducing myself a little bit more, kind of like the more effective viral ad of where the guy pans the camera and he's like, what do we see? So that part, I think they're doing a little bit better, but I agree that like, you can't build up people, you can't allow the rumor mill to basically anticipate one thing and give them what they gave us. And it's fine if you want to say like, look, we have a limited budget, so we can only do so many trailers and so many promotions. That's fine. But then you have to be more judicious about how you go about doing that. And yeah, I think in this case, they swung and missed by and large over the course of this past, 10 days in terms of how they handled it. So
is there any talk of seeing a trailer where these people actually speak? I mean, I would assume that we will get that. We'll get that at some point, but I think you missed out on your opportunity to show us now and have that be the talk of the town instead of the disappointment that people are talking about.
Well, I would say this sort of indicates you won't get the second trailer until the spring, right? I mean, I think there clearly is going to be, I think the one thing is I wasn't surprised. I had even mentioned that they would do something with the NBA playoffs because of the TNT tie-in. And I think the All-Star game kind of proves that like there'll be a lot of promotion as we get toward the NBA playoffs and the end of the NBA season, which will be leading up to the release of the movie. But second trailer, yeah, I kind of feel like you may not get it till like Memorial Day because of that. Like they'll want to align it with the playoffs and somewhere around there. And they feel they might, the Man of Steel, they gave us 3, right? It was a teaser and then 2 full trailers, one of which was like a jumbo trailer, like with the music. Mm-hmm. They might only do 2 for this one. This whole sequence here with the NBA and the Puppy Bowl made me feel like dollars are tight, that they're not really like letting them, go all out.
But here's the thing, Brian, with that, the money situation, does it cost? I would think it would cost them more for them to do what James Gunn did, rent this big studio instead of just showing a trailer.
Well, no, because I would say like, again, you're doing that all on Warner Brothers property, right? I mean, it's their channel, it's their lot. Like, I'm guessing they save a lot of money by that versus like you're hiring the FX artists and you're hiring the people, you're paying their time to actually edit a full new trailer. I'm guessing that's more expensive. Then you're paying for the placement of that trailer, wherever. screens wise.
When your expectation for this movie is supposed to be, I think, profitable, I think this is an investment towards making sure that you are profitable and perhaps even go crazy, not go crazy in terms of expenditure, but go crazy in the sense that you believe that you're going to probably get to that $1 billion mark. Maybe. But the hope is to build that excitement so that people come see this movie, not do this.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, you either need to be in or you need to be out. I mean, I don't think there's a half measure to getting this to be successful. Like either you believe in it and you're going to commit to it because it's the launch of your universe, or you're not. So I do agree with you in that standpoint that like money is kind of no object for this particular project. And especially because, as we said, like you're in this very crowded marketplace, like you need to stand out. You need to make people not just see this movie once. You need to make them want to go see it again throughout July and August.
All right. The mostly little stuff. What else?
We'll stay in DC for one more thing that will not go away. We got a Constantine update this week.
Oh,
this thing will not die. So, director of the first movie, Francis Lawrence, said that Keanu is, quote, closer than ever to being able to do a sequel, and that he, Akiva Goldsman, the writer, and Keanu are super, super excited about it. And he said they finally figured out a way to bring Keanu Reeves back in Constantine 2 after going through a lot of the comic books. He said, we have a great idea. We've gone through a bunch of the comics and looked at a lot of things. And they said, we've basically been having it in the back of our minds for 20 years, just percolating on ideas and stories and characters we love and ideas we love. So this will not die. He's saying that this is still potentially going to happen and closer to happening than ever 20 years later.
There are some people that really enjoyed Constantine. I don't know if you're one of them. I never really got into it. I don't think I've ever actually seen that movie, Brian. But I've seen the iterations.
I think it's okay
in animation. Yeah.
I think it's okay. I enjoyed watching it, but it's not a rewatch for me. It wasn't bad, but it, I don't know that
is this an Elseworld?
Not necessarily, just because, I mean, if they're doing the Mangold Swamp thing and like there's some stuff out there, right, in the DCU that would tie to Constantine, or sort of having that character be more mainstream. So I honestly don't know and how long they intend Keanu to play the role. But
Marvel stuff.
Jennifer Lopez considered for a major role in the MCU.
This is equivalent to her performing the best of Motown at the Grammys one time. I think it was. I'm like, yo, what? What? When I go to the mall, I walk by her brand. She has a lingerie brand called Intimacy. First of all, it took me months to finally pronounce that name, Intimacy. And to say, how do you brand yourself as, that is the worst name. Like if you were taking a course on how to name your brand, this would be what not to do. Make it difficult for people to pronounce Intimacy, yo. Listen, Jennifer Lopez has had a successful career, and I think one of the reasons why is because she's had a great team behind her. This, to me, is Kevin Cohen. It's like you thought he was hot. This dude is so Hollywood now, man.
What an entrance he makes. There's nobody like him. I don't care for the guy one bit.
If I was talking to Bob Iger, man, listen, if you were looking to make some cuts, this would be one of them, because he is ruining the success you once had with just putting names up in there. I don't know who's making the recommendations. Perhaps it's not even Kevin, but that Kevin is saying yes to this and approving it. And if he's not approving it, then he should have a problem with it. Because Jennifer Lopez in the MCU, to me, I am so out.
But it's okay. So the betting rumor is that she would play Moonstone, which is like a, I don't know, Dr. Carla Sofin, sort of like at one point was like a Miss Marvel variant or whatever. It's almost irrelevant. In some ways, this is a fitting marriage because you're talking about two fading brands, right? Like Jennifer Lopez had to cancel her tour last year and because there were widespread rumors of a lack of demand, that people just didn't care about her new album and didn't want to see her perform, which kind of sounds a lot like the fading box office of the MCU. So no wonder they're having conversations. But I'm like, yeah, this kind of feels like a great, like if you were building the MCU in 2006, you would probably have this conversation, not in 2025. Like the whole Kevin thing is probably its own show at this point because we've obviously had a budding series. And we're probably being too harsh with the whole, like, fire Kevin or whatever. I think it's more...
You know what, man? I'm so sick of this bullshit.
I think it's more just Kevin needs to retire. It's not fire, just retire. Like, hang it up. We're going to clean house and we're going to start over. Yeah. This is what happens. We don't need this. This is not a win for anyone involved. She's not a great enough actress to where this is an exciting development. And if they're building a character around her, it just feels like it's going to be an awkward fit with something they're trying to do. So I just don't see it.
I don't waste my time with it. When it comes, I won't even notice.
What's next?
So first off, Miles Teller, huge Philadelphia Eagles fan. So he's feeling himself these days. Also has a pretty good movie, by the way. If you haven't, on Apple TV Plus, The Gorge, directed by Scott Derrickson, him and Anya Taylor-Joy. Watched it last night. Not a bad streaming movie. A little bit of like sci-fi, a little bit of aliens, a couple of twists. Like I was entertained. I was more entertained by that than I was by Brave New World. Someone asked him while he was out promoting The Gorge about the new Fantastic Four. So he was very nice.
Interesting.
He was very nice. And he said, he kind of said he thought the trailer looked, as a joke, fantastic. And he said, I've known Pedro Pascal for a couple of years, and man, I'm wishing them all the best. I don't wish anybody to be part of a bomb because it's just a marker on your career that for some people takes longer to get over than the others. I just wish them the best. End quote.
That's why this movie is so huge. And the characters or the actors that they chose to play these roles, they were very specific. And Pascal is not going to me. Pascal is just, to me, he's a great actor. He's just that good. And I know you're not sold on it. I've converted Tracy. I think he is going to do or come off well as Reed Richards and do a good job. And so far, what they've shown us in trailers, in terms of with music and all that, I think this movie is going to be successful. We'll see, but I think the likelihood of this movie being successful is up there because the excitement is up there. So it can't bomb, because if it bombs, you're putting a halt on some people's careers, and it's going to be hard to recover, especially not for, I think, Pedro Pascal. I think he's good. He's a fantastic actor. And I think these other guys are great actors. They're not going to be, is everything else. And the name of the fan, this will be if this movie fails, we're never seeing Fantastic Four again, other than in Doomsday. But in terms of the reboot, forget about it.
That's the thing. And I think, to tie it back to Brave New World, my theater, as you know, when I usually go to the movies around where I live, theaters are not packed. And this theater was pretty full. There's no energy, man. There wasn't a single thing in that movie that people laughed at or, responded to. And then when they showed
only Bucky, that's it.
But like even him, and kind of by the time he got there, I think people were sleeping. I think they were kind of out. And like when they showed the trailer for Thunderbolts, nobody reacted. People were just like, what? Like another one with these characters? Like, and that's my worry for Fantastic Four, is just by the time we get there, people are just so sour. that it hurts that product, and I think people, we it's a fun topic of like, superhero fatigue and the demise of the MCU, but like Fantastic Four kicks off the stage of life where we are going to have that conversation for real, because that next stretch is going to include Fantastic Four, obviously. It's going to include 2 Avengers movies, and it's going to include Spider-Man 4. If the collective might of those movies is a failure, I don't know where. I mean, we could talk about the X-verse and it's fun and it'll happen, but like, I don't really know where they go from there. And not only that, but like we now know, like with the Avengers movies, like they basically brought everyone back, right? Like they're bringing back the crew, they're bringing back the stars. Like you mentioned the Fantastic Four, like they're moving the Fantastic Four to the center of the board for that movie because they know the Avengers aren't a thing, and Brave New World kind of underscored that they're not a thing. And I think like Brave New World did suggest to me that Thunderbolts is going to be maybe one of their first attempts to reform the Avengers, right? Because effectively Ross asked Sam to do it. Sam is hesitant, but by the end of the movie, he makes clear he's going to do it. And then you get the sense that maybe Thunderbolts will be that moment where they haven't formed the actual Avengers yet, so they kind of get this like rogue Avengers squad with Valentina sort of at the head, and that might be their first attempt. And that then might lead to, okay, those guys aren't really good enough for what we need. We need Fantastic Four, and we need Deadpool, we need Wolverine, we need all these crossover characters to kind of form up the team. But if that doesn't work, like if that's not good and audiences don't respond to it, I don't know what else they have.
It's a wrap, yo. It's a wrap.
So it feels like the conversation is getting real now. Like we're getting within range, and Fantastic Four will be the first iteration of like, is this thing over? Like as we know it. It'll exist, but it'll exist in small screen, small budget. Like it won't be this tentpole centerpiece thing. And that's what I mean by like Brave New World just made me a little more nervous. That Fantastic Four. I'm still positive because I like how it looks. Like I like what they've done, but I don't know. I'm nervous, man. I'm nervous. So
one last thing before we wrap this one up, unless you have unless there are other things, Brian, on the docket there.
I had He-Man stuff.
Oh, yeah. We got to talk about He-Man.
Two things. One we talked about and one we didn't. I don't know if you've seen the one we didn't talk about, but. And
I've mentioned this in a joking manner and is actually happening. So this is going to be funny to see. Go ahead.
So we got some casting news, which wasn't shocking in the sense of we got a sorceress. Someone we know, Monica Baccarin, who actually was she's the girlfriend in Deadpool. Yeah, so good choice. Like she's a good actress. Like that'll be fun. We also got
casting bride for this is just impeccable right now.
Yeah, they got some real
this
people.
This movie is this come out in the theaters?
Yeah, yes, it is now in the theater. Yes,
Brian, I'm not going to say billion. I'm not going to say billion. I'm not going to say it. But, but this could be the sleeper hit.
They just started shooting. Okay. So they also had another one of these. Like they cast like a Scandinavian. I'm going to butcher his name. Johannes Hauker Johansson is playing Fisto. So another one of these characters from back in the day. Like if you could pull this off, I give you a lot of credit. But that was kind of a silly character back in the day.
You got Fisto. You got Ram Man. This is gonna be
giant metal fist, man. That's what he's a giant metal hand. Yeah.
This is weird, but this is weird but funny territory. And I think He-Man, that's what it is. He-Man is not. I was thinking about this. I think my parents didn't want to learn English because I was watching He-Man so much back in the day. I'm like, this is English? I don't want to know, because He-Man is not something that you watch and listen to for too long because it is horrible. this is turning out to be because of the names that they've attached to this, because of the actors that they've had they've hired for these roles. The sort of story they're trying to tell. This is interesting, Brian. This is interesting.
So this then played into this movie has now underway and being filmed. And so we got our first images from the set, which confirmed the theory or the story that you had heard, which is they are going to do part of this on Earth, but it's kind of like the Matrix. That's what it feels like, that Adam is in present day Earth, doesn't remember who he actually is, and that something catalyzes his return. He thinks of He-Man and Skeletor as stories, fairy tales from his childhood, not realizing that he actually is He-Man, and that something catalyzes his return to actual Eternia, and he winds up having to fight the final battle against Skeletor. The set photos basically confirm this, because there are pictures of Nicholas Glitzen, who, by the way, I think looks great. I don't know anything about how he's going to play the character, but they nailed the hair. And that's not easy hair, because that hair looks silly back in the day. His hair looks good. Like he looks big, and his hair looks like a young He-Man. But they got him in the pink shirt. He's in a pink dress shirt, like Adam used to always wear pink and purple. He's in a pink dress shirt being arrested by cops. And the thing that looks a little bit weird is it looks like he's holding the sword. So I don't know how they're going to pull that off. But he's being arrested and he's handing over the sword, and he's in just like a modern suit, but it's just a pink dress shirt. So this is going to happen, I guess. Like they're going to do this sort of like repressed memories. And I heard, the other thing was they cast, we were talking about casting. They cast James Purefoy as Randor, which was also a good casting choice. That's a guy that you might have seen. You definitely would know him if you saw his face. He was Solomon Kane. What? James Purefoy. So he's King Randor. And then Charlotte Riley, I think, is the Queen. So again, these are actors that like have done some things. My expectations are so tempered on this, but like because Travis Knight is making it, and I see these actors joining up, I'm like, there must be something here that they think is cool.
I looked it up. I found them, and the headline is "Bad News: He-Man movie set images confirms rumors." Because not everybody, but I won't say everybody, but most people don't want this to be taking place on Earth. Why are we talking about Earth here? We got to go back to Eternia now. If Eternia is like the last 15 minutes of this movie,
I don't think it is. No, that's why I think it's more like the Matrix, where it's like the opening act. The opening is the Earth part, and then the transportation happens, and then the bulk of the movie is in Eternia. I think it will be that. I don't think they're dumb enough. I don't think they're dumb enough to do like 75% Earth and 25% Eternia. Think of it. I guess if not just the Matrix, the other comparison I make is like Tron, right? Like Tron, we always start in the real world, but then they get sucked. Once they get sucked into the world of Tron, into the computer world, they don't leave the computer world until the movie's over.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's yeah.
Last thing, Brian, before we end this. The rumors of Jonathan Majors. What are your thoughts on that possibility of them bringing him back, on them wanting him back? My theory is, for me, you can't deny someone's greatness or his ability or his talents. You can't deny that. I think they've seen the movie, his movie, the one that was put on the shelf because of all that was happening.
Do you see the trailer for that?
Yeah, I think
he looks insane in that. Yeah. Magazine Dreams, the bodybuilding movie. Yeah.
Yes. These people have seen the movie or they've heard the rumors. that he is fantastic, and he perhaps, because of this, will gain the attention more in a positive way because of his performance in this movie. And so the talk is, do we bring him back? Your thoughts?
I don't think it's going to happen. So part of the genesis of this is so if people recall the ins and outs of this, there were a number of charges that were filed against him. The ones that he was found guilty of, he avoided jail time and has now served his sentence. The other ones, he were either dropped or settled. So that's the resolution. So his legal situation has been resolved, for better or for worse. It is completed. He's done with it was only community service. I think it was 10 months community service. He's done. So that has then led to the trailer release for Magazine Dreams, which he shot a while ago and appeared on the awards circuit and got a lot of positive buzz, but they shelved it because of the legal problems, which is then feeding into is Marvel really just going to abandon Kang entirely in favor of Doom? I have seen and heard two iterations of this. One is that Majors himself comes back in a small capacity to wrap up his part. I've also heard the version where where the part is recast and the new Kang comes back to wrap up the part in a small way in Doomsday. And in both cases, somehow Doom is one step ahead of Kang and effectively dispenses with him to basically elevate Doom as a truly menacing, sinister and game-changing villain. That seems to be the consensus. I think a recast is far more likely than Majors actually reappearing at this point.
Because like he's that great. Like, why are you gonna downplay his appearance and just make it look like, he's easily dispatched and we shouldn't even think about him anymore? It's like bringing in, and to me, that's like bringing Michael Jordan off the bench. Like, why? Well,
yeah, it's also tough because he was the actor who they were going to put front and center, that they were going to bet it all on, and now they've pivoted the entire storyline to they're basically going to have him be a jobber to get Doom over, and
you don't do that.
They don't need him to do that. Anyone can, and the other thing that gives a little fuel to that recasting fire is that Coleman Domingo, who obviously is voicing Norman Osborn right now on Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, admitted that in his conversations with Marvel, the idea of him taking over Kang was one of the things that they talked about. And he didn't want to do it because he's like, it's not mine. I don't really want to do a role that's not mine. But that would imply that Marvel is looking to do something to tie up that character, right? If they're having that conversation with him, they're probably having it with other people. So I think you are going to see Kang, the Council of Kangs, I think will make an appearance in the early stages of Doomsday. But I think it will serve primarily for how Doom basically cuts off that storyline in a way that makes him seem, like an unstoppable villain. And I just don't think you need Jonathan Majors for that.
Yeah. Let us know in the comment section below what you guys think of this or last week's news. Some interesting things. This He-Man thing, I'm telling you, is getting bigger and bigger. But again, what we feared in the beginning with this movie of it being on Earth is now confirmed. So we're going to feel how we're going to feel about that.
I will say this. I'm not 100% out on it as long as Earth is a chapter 1 of this movie launch point. I can live with it. This is not as bad as Voltron being on Earth to me.
Yeah. Voltron being on Earth, that makes no sense to me. Even if they try to make it make sense, I don't care about, leave Earth alone, man. Leave Earth alone. You got you got these sound stages and these what's the volume and stuff like that. Take us somewhere else, man. Take us somewhere else. Don't keep us here to see something that really doesn't make sense for it to be here, because when we grew up watching it, we thought nothing of Earth. It was Eternia. It was what's an Ares or what's the name of the
planet Ares.
Ares.
Yeah.
It was that. But anyway, if the Wandawise gets casted as Storm,
You got to do the
I'm
montage. Pull the montage of you saying that like last year.
You're right. You're right. I gotta go back to the vote and just put clips, the Wandawise, and put the dates on it. Because I've been calling it for all this long. Listen, again, it is important that if you do the X-Men, that you cast them correctly and that each one of these characters have their moments to shine, as X-Men 97 did so well. So the hope is that they focus on doing this right. I'm not saying there's a right way to do this. I'm just saying that they make that who they choose to play these roles is pivotal for us to believe that this is the X-Men going forward. We can't be, we can't play around here. And Batman 2, when I think about when this is going to come out and what's being done over at Matt Reeves' universe with Batman, it makes me think about James Gunn's turn and what we talked about last time. James Gunn is going to get his Batman out there. His Batman. So we are going to possibly see a new Batman out there because, again, it's going to happen with Hugh Jackman's Wolverine. We're going to have two Wolverines running around. And Batman is that character that you can possibly do this with because, again, we will see anything Batman to see what you do with it. And if we like it, hey, you got yourself a hit, possibly. So we'll have to wait for that. But yeah, let us know in the comment section below what you guys think of all this.
I got one final note. I got to sneak it in here. It doesn't fit with anything, but I texted it to you and I just have to note it. So our guy, Christopher Nolan, ready to shoot the Odyssey. Has all his locations around Greece approved by the government. So you mentioned the volume. This is a guy who does not use the volume. He's shooting everything around the Greek islands. And we come to find out he is going to do the classic Polyphemus Cyclops scene. And he's actually building a life-size Cyclops puppet. That's my guy. That's why he is who he is.
You can't say anything. Like, this guy is so revered as a filmmaker because of his practicality, his ingenuity, his innovation to give us an experience where at the movie theaters.
Yep.
He takes risks, but he has a process. And he is that guy. He is that guy of movie making, and we cannot wait to see, because every time I mention Odyssey to people, they're like, "Oh snap, he's doing that." And what you're saying right now, this is what you call innovation, man. And making
this is the anti-Brave New World, right? This is the guy who has done everything in his career and uses that to push filmmaking forward. He doesn't sit back. Like, this could go horribly wrong, right? Like, if another filmmaker was telling us I'm making a giant Cyclops puppet, we'd be like, oh boy. But Christopher Nolan says he's making a giant Cyclops puppet. I'm like, man, he's going for a real looking mythological epic. And like, yeah, that's why I love. That's why I would just go to the mattresses for everything he does, because I'm just like, I know he cares. So like, when I give over my money to go watch what he's done, I'm going to see something I have not seen before. May not always be my favorite, but it's going to be something I haven't seen before, and therefore it's worthwhile. So this was just confirmation. He's going for it again.
Yeah. So yeah, let us know in the comment section below what you guys think of all we've discussed, and remember to hit that like and subscribe button, share with your friends, and comment in the comment section below. And we'll see you next time on the Nerd Gen Report.